Welcome to TrueLift series. Are you ready to dive deep into the world of recruiting, staffing, and business growth with the experts? From backstage stories to top-tier strategies, PeopleLift is here to share the secrets. Buckle up. It's the TrueLift podcast. Join us on this inspiring journey of growth and achievement.
Welcome, everybody, to PeopleLift Presents, our TrueLift series. We're going to be talking about our journey, our building while flying, and our journey to the Inc. 5000 here. We've got Katyana Ibarra, Tim David, and Kelly Meadows here with us. I'd like to do a quick roundabout and get a quick introduction. But before we get going, this is a real special event for me and on a personal level, because we're celebrating something that doesn't happen very often. And the intersection for all of us at both its success and the pain that we've had to get to this point is going to be well documented. It is an uneven journey. It doesn't make sense in a lot of ways, but it actually makes perfect sense for us being here, because I think all of us can say that the vertical and the customers we're serving right now, we're blessed to have, but this was not by design. And sometimes the best things in life are these accidents that just start to occur.
Happy accidents.
Exactly. The best kinds. So I'm going to start off, Tim David, if you don't mind, give us a quick intro. Who are you? Why you got the Inc. 5000 shirt on? And
Oh,
ready to have
geez.
fun?
I have the shirt on because we had it made.
Hey.
I'm Tim David. Been in recruiting since 2004. Met you in 2015. And I had the honor of receiving your phone calls over the time that you kind of moved this thing from consulting to your client saying, great, you're telling us how to retain people, but we need them here to retain them. And so, 2019, got the phone call and been a happy accident ever since. It was fun riding out quarantine with you and not with you in the same
I was
one
about to say, we
bedroom
need to
condo,
clarify.
but
We did not
we
share
did
an
not
apartment.
share a residence, but shared Zoom a lot, and drink a lot together. Remember those nights at 9:30, 10 o'clock, getting smashed together, talking about how little money we had, but doing the most good that we could for humanity around us. And yeah, been a fun ride.
From getting smashed to saving humanity. That's a great little spectrum right there. So thanks, Didi.
What other way is there to save humanity?
And
in a pandemic.
in a pandemic, there are no judgments. There's nothing here. So, Katyana.
So, hi. First of all, I'm here already for a year ago. I had the call from Team David asking me, hey, I have this company that is going to start in the island, and I just and I want to talk to you at 6:30 in the evening. I'm like, oh my God, who are you? Where are you coming from? And I'm going to be safe. But it's one of the best calls that I had, and it's been a great adventure. I started with already creating the team here in the island. We have 10 awesome team players that we're rocking it. And I just want to see what is going to be next in our adventure.
Amazing.
Love it. Thank you for everything you do here. And on the fun parts of this, we've got our 10 team members. That's only just getting started. And you'll get that theory. You'll get that, not theory. You'll get that phrase from me a bunch today. And finally, last but not least, Kelly Meadows.
Tim, I was looking at your watch and his activity thing just pinged at us. Like he was running.
Stand up.
And I want to know why I can't burn 200 calories on my watch, but yours goes off while we're sitting here.
And anxiety.
It's very annoying. So
A lot of caffeine as well.
Starbucks, thank you.
I'll start from meeting Tim. So I met Tim in January of 2023, after I had kicked Glow off again and started a job board to help people who've been laid off. I've been in technology staffing for
Not going to edit that out, actually. We're going
No,
to
that's
use
staying
that.
in.
That's staying in.
Zoom.
Exactly.
We're just talking about technical training.
It's funny because in the beginning of movies, they're like, please silence your phone. And this is, I feel like we needed to caveat this on, I forgot to.
Unless it's a client call, in which case, please take that.
Yeah, go ahead. Leave the room. Take the client call if it's coming through. So I've been in technology staffing for almost 20 years. I started with a publicly traded company, then went to a startup, watched and worked with great people to grow a company and sell it. So I have always yearned to help people who want and need the help. And so when I met Tim, it just made sense. So I do have my own organization, Glow, and I work as a fractional leader for a couple of different clients, and PeopleLift happens to be one of them, which is really exciting because I can see that the growth is going to happen very quickly.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here. And we set out a goal between the both of us when you started working with us that it would be one of those pivotal moments in our organization. This podcast is reflecting of that in a lot of ways because it's the second part, and now we're just looking ahead, which is a wonderful thing. But in order to kind of understand and appreciate where we're going, it is important to look back and to say how a little bit we got here. So without recanting too much of the drinking and the late night conversations on
I'll
what
keep it G
what
rated.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
keep it G-rated. The thing that we're really going to talk about is this journey through adversity here, because when I called you and we started this idea, it was exactly as you described. Our clients need to hire people so we can focus on the consulting piece of the business. And then COVID happened, and then no one was hiring almost
At all.
immediately.
Yeah.
And we hit this full stop, just like
Stop.
everybody else did.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to just walk through a brief recount of that, because
What are you trying to say? I'm a
well,
little
no, I
verbose.
just might start twitching. That's why this might start happening. The reality is,
So you're just reminding me to keep it brief. Got it.
PTSD is a real thing, especially with these.
We
But
only have an hour, Tim.
exactly, only an hour.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, exactly. So
Let's put a timer
there you
on.
go. There you go,
I'll
Tim.
let you know when there are 5 seconds left.
Vocally for you.
Hopefully. Visual reminder.
Of all of this is that you can spend an hour on each of these topics, but you get about 2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's just condense it. So
Yep.
give me,
I will.
let's just take a quick little look. So I'll kind of tee you up here. So March 2020, when everything starts to shut down, we are a business that's been growing 100% or more year over year for 3 consecutive years. And then we lose 95% of our customers in a matter of 45 days.
God bless Jesse. Stuck it
Jesse, thank you. Vehicle History, I'll give you a shout out here in Las Vegas, right? Then we're in this pause because we're working for media companies and tech companies on a global level, and everything is
Accounting and
paused.
finance. Yeah.
So, and then we look at this and we say, what has happened? So just to look, the market completely stopped.
Yep.
COVID was rampant.
Yep.
At that time, my wife was 8 months pregnant. So we're trying to figure out what that looks like in this world. We're in a high travel function that now is zero travel. We're all kind of stuck in our boxes together. And
Buying crap tons, literally, of toilet paper.
yes, exactly. Ah, yes. That is the truth.
Dad joke number one,
There you go.
everyone.
There you go.
Everybody take a shot.
We haven't said the actual key phrase yet. Okay, so I know my story really
Yeah.
well on your side, but we're in March, everything is paused. So kind of walk me through from your memory of what April, May, June before we actually start to see the market open up again. So what's that like for you? What were we doing?
So, it was interesting in that time period. He came to me like, "Hey, we're already not making money." I'm like, "You're right. We're not making any money."
True story.
He said, I've got some ideas here. I've got a friend of mine who's trying to start up, how do we do the most good for humanity? Distribute PPE gear.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not PPP loan, but PPE gear. A lot of P's in there. And it was, final mile solutions. It was, how do you get gear from an Air Force base to municipalities? How do you set up that distribution channel? How do you get in touch with municipalities? And I went, man, that should keep us busy. And if we don't make any revenue, like we're not making any money as it is. And so it started with that. And, we had 2 recruiters at the time who were part-time with us, then part-time, trying to just make ends meet however they could. And then we gained a volunteer, your former like protege, Kira, your intern or
She was an intern, yeah.
and she was like, listen, I'm not doing anything. Like, sure, I'll volunteer with you guys. And she brought along somebody else, Alexis, or I forget how all that worked and what. So we went from like 2 to 4 all volunteers, and it was just doing the most good we could for humanity around us. And out of that just came this beautiful story, and that's where we really started developing our approach. Because when you came to me with that idea, I was like, "You're full of crap," and then it was like, "All right, great."
It's not the first time or the last time
Yeah.
you've leveraged that.
Well, that or can you believe it works?
I think those are both equally balanced. Stuff
Yeah.
like you don't believe me and you're thrilled that it actually works. So
And it worked for the good of humanity, right? And we were able to stand something up in a very short amount of time, and then
500,000 masks were
like
delivered.
Panda, came to us and said, "Hey, we want to do the most good we could for our neighbors around us. Can you help us stand this up?" And that took off, and just incredible stuff that we were able to do for humanity while at the same time, like we were even in talks about how do you hold virtual career fairs, and kind of on the forefront of here in Atlanta, how do you hold virtual career fairs? And I think that was the thing that impacted me the most, because without those, if you want to call them distractions, or without the work, yeah, it would have been really bleak sitting at home drinking, and what do I do without any money? I mean,
I think that COVID at the end brought everyone to do what you're passionate about.
There was a lot of social change that happened in a very accelerated time
yeah.
during that time frame as well. There was a lot of things that were going there.
And we always were pretty altruistic, I mean, between the two of us, but the we do because we care really, became less of a saying and much more of a philosophy for us during that time frame. And it's been something that we've carried through to the business ever since, in a very deliberate manner.
So to kind of trace this in terms of time, so we go from a fractional people officer model with marketing and consulting to help organizations scale teams and hire
Right.
the best possible teams, to how do we solve international supply chain issues in like a week.
A week.
And
That was a couple of long nights.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely.
That's what
A lot of coffee, a lot of.
And I would argue that that build while fly mentality was imprinted in our DNA.
At that point, yeah.
And then now it has carried us through for better or worse in certain times. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So we go from who we were to now what we're trying to become, which is anybody who will say yes to us at this point. We're so far past like customer personas and target markets. It is like, can we just make revenue?
Yeah.
Because the idea wasn't like, here, let's build a generational business in 2020. It was, we got to put food on the table.
Yeah.
So when you go
Pay
from that,
mortgage.
so we start hitting 3,000 leads a month per person.
Yes.
And this is through
Good point. I
as
didn't
it
bring
is,
that up. Yeah. In the meantime, yeah, we were hitting
running hard while doing the right things. And then we start to get a couple of bites in industries that we weren't prepared for.
July.
Yeah. So chemical manufacturing, energy areas, these that are nice, that are great business models that we just had zero experience in. And then you start to see the transition of what it is going from, again, volunteer to revenue generating.
Yeah.
And I remember July, August, and September, we had 3 yeses in a row with clients that kind of propelled us back into, hey, we actually have something. It wasn't the PeopleLift as we are today. It wasn't an idea of building this RPO and this consulting growth business. It was just, we got to get stuff done. And so they start asking us to hire manufacturing folks, frontline machine operators, maintenance techs, chemical operators. And just for everyone, full disclosure, at that point, I was Googling, what does a maintenance tech do? Just as a full, like, here, I had no idea, like basic level
No,
introduction.
legitimately, you had no
I
idea.
had no idea
Yeah.
because I had never, and then this is where I discovered something about you, is that I never knew that you worked in a plant before. I'd
Yeah.
always introduction or known you through EY or any of your large consulting businesses or working with me directly. And then all of a sudden we
Yep.
get the story of how you worked in a plant.
Yeah. In fact, that was pretty integral into us even getting into manufacturing. Was, what experience do you have? I'm like, well, I know how to drive a forklift truck. They're like, how? And we have a job for you. I almost said yes. But yeah, I mean, grew up working with my father. My father was a shop steward up in Chicago, and so I had that exposure. And um that first client, I mean, it just, there were so many questions like, how do you guys know that you can be successful? And truthfully, I don't, being completely transparent, I'm like, I hope it's successful, but
Build while fly.
right, we'll figure it out. And that's something I told them was like, as a recruiter, I've never failed, and I'm not going to fail now. And I said, worst case scenario, I'll fill all these roles because I have nothing better to do. Because I mean,
You couldn't do anything else at that time.
great.
Yeah.
So we'll all, and I want to zoom out then because we'll get into what happened very quickly after this. But COVID was also impacting you,
Yeah.
Katiana. So I kind of want to understand what in that same time frame, that March to July, what's happening in Katiana's world.
In the island was very hard, the COVID-19 pandemic, because the government made a huge decision of closing the island, basically. So you couldn't go out.
Kelly knows she was trying to go to Puerto Rico.
Exactly, you couldn't go. Sorry,
Yeah. There was no coming.
not my fault.
We weren't leaving the house anyway, so it was like we were getting on a plane.
So it went to the point that we needed to have official documents by the government that will allow us to go to our jobs because our jobs were essential. If not, you needed to be at your house or you would get fined. And then after 7 p.m., nobody except police or hospital personnel could be out.
Sounds like martial law.
Martial law, exactly. So the results on that is that a lot of jobs gets affected, especially recruiting, especially in the human resources industry. So I remember like the day I had, like it was yesterday, April 23rd, 5 p.m. I got my letter of being sorry, COVID-19 impacted your department, so you're not going to, we need to let you go. So that was devastating because I knew that I love what I was doing and what am I going to do next? Because everything is closed. So that mentality and that frustration because I didn't know what was going to happen next. And my husband was at the same level, the same insecurities. It was really tough times, but at the same time, I love a challenge. So that made me decide, okay, what am I going to do next? How am I going to network in order for me to get that next job? And I did what I never done before, that was construction. So from not doing anything and only doing recruiting and HR, and I was suddenly recruiting carpenters and electricians and plumbers that don't know how to read, don't know how to write, but they are interested in looking for jobs. And I was doing a complete 360 of what I was doing before.
We understand deeply on this end. And Kelly, I don't know. I actually don't know this answer, so I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear it.
We'll all learn that. Okay, so in 2020, I had been on 7 trips, so 14 airplanes, by the time COVID came around. So I was responsible for a region at the time. I was responsible for 5 different physical offices. And just like everybody felt, we had to shut those offices down. And actually, one of the first office we had to shut down was in Raleigh, because we had consultants that had gone to a conference in Boston, which was like ground zero at the time. It was very early on. I want to say that was like March 13th. So to set the stage a little bit more, I am a mom who's been in a VP role over a very large position, for about a year and a half. I'd been with that company for almost 10 years. At the same time, I'm a mom of a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old. So when the world shuts down as a mom, and I think there's so many moms like me that have the same story. I'm just one, but my story was that I was in the office every single day, and flying all over the place. And then all of a sudden, I'm in 4 walls in my office, and I have 2 children who really, frankly, Tim knows this, he's in the thick of it. You can't really let a 2 and a 7-year-old just be on their own. Needless to say, there were a lot of executive level meetings during that time to figure out how we were going to manage the business. And specifically, my 2-year-old was in almost every one of those meetings. And I have to say, my leadership that I worked for, they were really amazing about that because it was really tough experience to go through. And there were a lot of people counting on me. I had 100 internal employees and almost 600 consultants at the time, and about a week after everything shut down, we started getting the notes that people were going to be let go. We had a large airline we worked with; those people had to be let go, and that was really scary. It's the same thing that drives why I like PeopleLift so much, the do because we care. I mean, I was altering resumes for people who couldn't leave their homes to interview. And then we did real projects. I think like everybody did. We tried to find ways to, yeah, we partnered with a mom group in Florida that was sewing masks because, there were no masks, to get masks to Marines that were overseas. And so we did a lot of things like that. But in terms of the business, I mean, you make an adjustment. I learned a lot about pivoting your business very quickly to go where you need to go. It sounds like you guys learned the same thing at that time. But more so, I learned a lot as a mom and who I wanted to be like after the pandemic, I think.
I'm really happy you said that because you opened up probably a non structured conversation I want to know now because I'm really curious. Because my perspective on parenting is only from the pandemic perspective. So I only know what it's like to have screaming babies while trying to close business.
Not always like
Okay,
that,
so-
It's
Yeah. So, and that's what you're. Oh, it's just. But that's just part of the story here. So it's fascinating to hear that. And then as we go back into our world and over the past
Yeah.
few years, it seems like there's been some decisions that have been made that, hey, I don't want to fully go back to the office, or I fully don't want to go back to this kind of life. Like one of my things is we will travel, right? But there's no reason to be in an office 5 days a week. And for me personally, and for the business as it is. Now, I do understand the value of bringing people together and the unity behind that. It seems like a lot of folks are making those choices and just saying, I don't really think I need to go back full time. It sounds like you're kind of in that mode.
I think it's wasteful. I think bringing people into the office when you can collaborate, there's so much value to being in person and having proximity to people, but it is wasteful for so many different reasons, for so many of the like global things that we could solve, over several drinks at night. We don't need to do that anymore. And I think a lot of businesses are struggling to learn that lesson. We all want to revert back. Oh, well, if, it was working better before, let's do that again.
It's interesting you say that worked better before because we've always been remote. So we were founded as a remote company. It wasn't hard for us to adjust, but when I was working as a fractional consultant, I helped all of my clients go virtual, and that was painful. So the story that I'll leave with this before we hop over is that one founder I was working with was in Africa when COVID hit. He could not get out of Africa for a month. So he was bouncing around. This is our friends at Vehicle History. So I was asked to build the entire COVID policy, remote policy, on the fly, hoping that he would approve by the time he had signal. So he's in Ethiopia airport trying to figure out what's a COVID policy. And he's asking me, what is COVID-19? I'm like, okay, we probably need to have a long conversation.
You've been stuck on top of a mountain for too long.
It actually did happen. The end of the world happened while you were gone. So we need to That's funny. So going back to our story, we grabbed 3 yeses in a row. We've 2x'd our company now essentially in 100 days.
Yeah.
From bringing on
$1 million in on track to be, I mean, it was all MRR revenue at that point.
Exactly. So we've doubled our business because we had multiple yeses, and then our businesses that were hiring kept doubling down and increasing their partnerships with us. So we doubled again. So it was a 4x over 6 months, which breaks everything,
including my back.
Exactly. And that's
a whole other story. Yeah.
But then we're bringing a model to the business that doesn't really exist in this space because there's your typical staffing model and then there's your contingent direct hire model. And we were not building these for manufacturing. We were bringing it over from a different vertical. So we were trying to build again while we're flying a plane.
Pivot.
And so when you said pivot. Like I did twitch because our clients told us, will you stop pivoting?
Are you going to effing stop pivoting and start doing something?
I love that.
He said, "Well, we're kind of like Ross. Pivot, pivot,
That,
pivot,
yeah.
pivot."
But the thing that was fascinating about it is we found market fit. Like for all of the product folks out there, is when you find PMF, right? Um, it is a fascinating and terrifying thing because now we have to build more because our customers are wanting more. They're
Mhm.
referring us more. Each of their friends are telling their friends, if you will. So we've built up an incredible referral network, 100% remote. We haven't left our homes. And now we're walking into 2021 saying, not only do we have something that can get through, pay the bills, because remember, the goal wasn't to thrive, it was
Right.
to
Just to
pay
bills.
mortgage. Now it is, how do you scale again into a multi-million dollar business? Now, let's bring in the other parts of the world here, right? We're still not meeting anybody. COVID is still happening. We're not traveling on site, and we're going into different markets, 6 different states over the matter of 6 months. And we're trying to figure all of this while we're going. And then we hit this, call it the next phase of our business, right? And then from 2021 until present, it has been the 0 to the Inc. 5000 run, which is all of our patches here, which is on our shirts. So
I guess I should know. I mean,
should show, yeah, as you go, yeah, exactly. Like
Like-
turn, like, hey, where's our model shot,
He's
right?
not gonna like that because
yeah,
You know,
not
exactly.
afraid.
But so we've entered into this space where we now know that we can win. And then so we'll fast forward a couple of years here because we could talk about the ups and the downs, all of this, but now we're identifying that we need to build something that can go from 3 to 30. How do you
Mhm.
10x again? Going from 0 to 1, the Peter Thiel, is incredibly difficult.
Yep.
Going 1 to 2 is equally hard. And that's what we're trying to do here. And this is where I would like to kind of shift over to Kelly here is uh, as transparent and as humble as I can say is that we've pushed it as far as we could and we broke everything along the way and we've recognized there may be a better way of doing this. So we're looking out and saying, hey, we need to have someone who's built something of long-term value, who's been able to grow in a startup mentality. And then all of a sudden here's Kelly. So not to give you too much pump here or too much pressure, but one of the things that I was asking and I'd like to understand from you is, what do you see in this PeopleLift story that would be worth your time? If I'm just speaking candidly,
Right.
because you've been there, you've done that, and like, what's
You gotta
interesting?
know us.
Well, I think that's
And you haven't run away as of yet.
Yeah, this is it. We're gonna film this and it's gonna be gone. I'm gonna drop this really. I won't do that, Jay, I promise. So that's what I was gonna say though, is what you just said. You are both of you, both the Tims here, are so humble in the business journey. So what I mean by that is you've done what less than 1% of companies have done. You've gotten over the hump of growth, the really hard stuff. Now it's my favorite word, which is scaling. But I think what's really important is to work with people who want and need the help. I'll say that again. So it's really important that you understand that there's different things and different ideas that you'll have to try and break in order to get to the next step of growth. And I think the reason that I found PeopleLift so inspiring because now I want to work with companies that are inspiring, period, and people that are good. And PeopleLift really does because they care, and the team and what you've built here is poised for the growth beyond like what you have even imagined. I've watched that happen before in my lifetime, and I would love to partner with people to do it again. And so PeopleLift in particular, the unique product lines that you're going to market with are just different. I've been in staffing a long time. I've seen a lot of different vendor landscapes in staffing and RPO and consulting, all of those different arms. And I think PeopleLift's different. And I don't say that lightly because I used to sit around and say, we're all staffing companies. We're just kind of like putting it in different makeup, right? I do believe this is different and it allows for a new approach for clients who are trying to overcome the challenges of the talent shortage. So, yes, we just got through what some people have referred to as a quiet recession, right? We're still going through it. What's really, well, yes, quiet quitting and all of these other things. Um, and there's a lot of layoffs that had just happened, but there's still a huge talent shortage in the areas that PeopleLift provides and the options that you give to your clients are unique. So the answer to your question is, how do you grow? That's it. And then you find the right people who care about that, who are willing to lock arms with you in almost a team approach, not a family. I can't stand the we are not a family. We are like the Braves across the street here, a highly yeah, a highly powered athletic team, finding the right players that have the right strengths in the right areas to grow the business. And that's all I'll say without giving away a bunch of secret sauce.
So Kelly, thank you for one, just speaking from the heart. I think it's one of the things that we really just value everything is that we know we're going to get it. If it was, you know, truth and transparency from you, and it's excellent to hear that we have something unique. And for us, that is just what we're going to capitalize on and double, triple down on. And part of that, and I think a really important piece that you mentioned, was hiring amazing people. So I'm going to pivot over to Katiana Ibarra here. So Kati for short, for those that want to take that and start leveraging that
Calling
in the
me that
future.
way.
But one of the key changes at the same time when I was starting the conversations with Kelly was how we can start to grow the business at the same time. Because building the engine while flying the plane means one person's building the engine, one person's flying the plane. There's only so much we can do. And now we need to start hitting scale, like Kelly has mentioned. So we set ourselves up and really got ourselves aligned with you, starting to run our operations side of the house. And I want to talk about this not only from what you're doing, but from the give back to the community here. So when you and I were first talking around why Puerto Rico, it's because it's a place that holds a lot of family for me. There's a lot of love for the island, but also there's an opportunity to have an impact on a community level, not only for our customers that we serve stateside, but also within Puerto Rico. So kind of want to understand, like, how you see people have been able to help your community and the local communities we serve in the island.
I just want to say something real quick. The reason why I decided to be part of PeopleLift was your story of why Puerto Rico. So I just want to point that out because he said that he fell in love with the island on our worst period. He went to the island after Hurricane Maria. He met our people. We didn't have anything. We didn't have electricity, water, food. We were just going by. But what we had was the need and the want to help each other out to go by each day. So he said to me, when I saw that, I said a promise to myself that once I'm able to go back to the island and help the community out, because they helped me when they shouldn't have, because I was just a tourist coming to the island for my wedding. So when I got the chance, I'm going to do it. And that's why I'm doing it right now. I don't know if you remember that. So I'm like, oh my God, this is such a different company than what I'm used to. And it's something that I wanted to be part of it. So what are we doing right now? We're trying to connect with students in colleges. We're looking to see what we can do to help them out, how we can help people in the island that need that first opportunity of work, that they have all the education, they have all the wanting to be successful, but nobody's giving that first shot. So that's what we're looking for. Those people that are with that mindset of they want to be successful. And we have seen great results in team members that just started with us in the past, let's say 4 or 5 months. So we know what we can do to move ahead.
You went to the team members, and I think one area I wanted to kind of highlight is the Do Because We Care was really a second version of trying to help put food on the table for families around the world. And that was really driven from that position where we're in 2020 of like,
Right.
we're trying to put food on the table for us. Like, if we can build
Do it for
something,
somebody
how
else.
can we take it to the next level? And to speak to your story about Puerto Rico, like, it, without getting too much detail here, maybe for a future podcast, but the spirit of helping each other was the most visible version I've ever seen that. I've seen it, I've heard it, I've experienced it within families, but not like on a larger scale. It was always like my family did this or a group of families, but it was an island taking care of each other. That was inspiring for me. And then you tie it back to the values of our business. There was an alignment from day one for there. But you have each of these little dominoes that are becoming very significant for us. We found new market, we found new services, we identify great talent, we're hiring, we bring in experts that help us get out of our own way. So because we're building and iterating on the fly. And now we're talking about what are we trying to do in the future? Like where can we go? How can we actually get there? So I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and obviously revenue growth, team size growth are important. But I want to talk about first on this on a personal level. And I'll start off and I'll ask each of you on this end. And we talked a little bit about this in our kickoff meeting. It is why people lift at this point, like our what's our value and the fear that we have looking ahead on this. And I go back to fear and I go back to value for two very important reasons. Is that values keep us together when we hit our challenges. We've hit our dozens of challenges throughout the years, and I'm sure Kelly is going to put us in a position to have lots more challenges because that's what growth and scaling is here to do.
Challenge for breakfast.
Exactly. I mean, even setting up
Don't ever say that again.
even setting up the podcast. I mean, we got Jay running here in the background. Great work, Jay. But like, I mean, just even getting these little things have its own area. But I want to talk about values. We won't go too much into fear. But what I value and what I want to see to continue within this business is this adherence to the do because we care standard. But more importantly on mine is that we're doing something that, or for me, excuse me, they're doing something that matters. Like we've got really smart people in this room that make a choice around what kind of energy and efforts we put into the world. And I'm sure there are thousands of people that would love to work with you across the board. And we're all here for the same reason because we see something that could be materially beneficial for the communities that we serve. I'm going to kind of flip it around real quick. One more time on this. So, Katiana, I'll go back with you and we'll go reverse. I
Oh,
know.
I thought it wasn't going to be the
I
first.
know. I'm going to kind of keep DJing up a little bit. Tell me a value that lines up with, or at least in the people side, that helps align you for what we're trying to accomplish here.
It all goes back to we do it because we care. Like there's nothing else that matters at the end when you see the happiness in our candidates' faces when they feel that they receive that first opportunity, or new team members that are coming on board that are crying with excitement because we gave them that opportunity that they've been working as hard as they can. You know that you're doing it the right thing. It is not money intent. And we can all say money is nice, but at the end of the day, those are the key things that make you move and make you get out of bed and do your work, because it's going to be difficult every single day.
Right. When you get that letter, the email from from the candidate that you placed a year ago, you're like, you know what? I can keep doing this. Right.
Exactly.
Several of those emails here recently.
Yes, of saying thank you. And it's like, oh my God, you don't expect them, but when you receive those letters, I'm saying thank you because you helped me reach my goal. And I'm here because of you. It's like, no, I'm not. I just pushed you a little bit. This is all your effort. So it's something that I can't even describe.
It's that feeling that money doesn't touch.
It's a hard business, but you have to have that
Those are the little wins.
the little wins. Exactly. What about you, Mr. David?
One of my favorite conversations to have, and what I love about this business, is when you get the phone call from a CEO or major stakeholder, and they say, "Man, I know that we have like 3 months left on our contract, but I don't know how we're going to use it." And I mean, that's when you go, "Man, we did our job right."
Talk about that for a second, because I don't think that's a standard outcome in staffing.
Yeah.
If I'm being direct,
So
like,
what's great is, so we and listen, every time we go into a client, we say, "Listen, there's going to come a point sooner than later, hopefully for your sake, but more likely later than sooner, where you're going to come to us and say, 'Hey, we don't have a need for your service at the scale that we've done it.'" I said, "Then we're going to celebrate with you." And of course, we always get laughed at. Whenever we say that, they're like, ha ha ha. Ha."
Because it's not what the
Right.
typical
And
agency
we
approach.
also say, like, within the first month, you're going to tell us to stop because you're going to have too many candidates. And your hiring managers are going to go, wait a second, we cannot be off the shop floor this often. You're going to be making too many hires to where, you can't put out enough offer letters. You run out of space in your onboarding programs. And we always get laughed at. In fact, I remember one director of operations was like, if that happens, I'll buy that recruiter a steak dinner. I said, well, you better be ready to buy a steak dinner. And sure enough,
It
it
was
happened.
like 60 days too. That was my favorite part. It's
Yeah.
like we're in the middle of COVID, so it's like we can't really fly up to
No.
PA and get the steak dinner. So we'll
But
just hold you
yeah,
to
why don't you just go ahead and send a gift card?
Yeah.
But no, and we also say, we're kind of like doctors. Eventually, if we do our jobs right and you do your job right, eventually you shouldn't need us.
Mhm.
And that is the best outcome. And man, I remember, what was it? February of this year, we got a phone call from a CEO. And he's like, what do I do? And we're like, first off, congratulations. Secondly, is why don't we build in an insurance policy for you with what you have remaining on your contract? Why don't we flatten it out, expand it out, and be an insurance conduit? And he's like, oh my God, you would do that for me? Like, well, absolutely. We do. I mean, literally, we do because we care, and we're not here to charge you for services that we're not going to.
I think you're touching on something that we've heard from a lot of our clients, and we'll get back to that value in just a second.
But
But
yeah, that's
yeah,
what I enjoy about.
so building a flexible, high value service is such a difficult thing in itself because you're kind of taught to do one thing really well and then try to expand upon that. And we're the complete opposite. We've done a lot of things and to help figure out what we can really be experts in. But the flexibility and the value is never really in question. And at least that's what I'm hearing from is, and what we've heard from our customers as well, is we can scale up and down as needed.
Mhm.
We can support a variety of level functions, types of roles, the types of kind of hiring that you're doing. And as we continually get better, we hear, "Oh, you do that as well? Great. Let's talk about what that looks like." And for a service-based leader, that is about as good as it gets, right? You're having this ability to, have a core product and then just keep upselling or net value adds. But in the end all, it's because of the trust that's built through that flexibility, through achieving what we said we were going to do. And I think that's as simple as it gets. We do what we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
I think it's simple. So kind of flip it over to Kelly before I wrap this back out to what we're looking to. You mentioned a little bit on the why. I spent a good amount of attention on that. I don't want to over-index,
Mhm.
but I think that there's something inherent that with the value of what you align with and what we also bring, which is something new, something that can grow. I think you talked about you like working with us in some capacity. This is not supposed to be a fishing for compliments. I bet.
Sounds like it, Tim.
What I really need to
She
hear
really
is
likes working with you
I
and
need to be.
tolerates me.
I actually my ego is so fragile that I need some pump right now. Can you please tell us how great we are again, Kelly?
Yeah.
No, the I you wouldn't work with us if you didn't want to work with us, and I think that that's an important thing when as we're growing is that we want to work with amazing people that have a sense of value tied to it. And so to zoom out for your company for Glow, like what's that value you're looking to see in each of your clients that you work with?
Mm. It's a really great question. So I don't work with a lot of clients at one time. I hold it to three or four. And I made a promise to myself that I was going to work with people that I like, that I think have really strong integrity and values. That's, a couple years ago, that's was right in my face, mirror in my face. Are you going to stand on your values, or are you going to shove them under the carpet for money? And I will tell you that that was a big turning point in my own personal journey and career. And now I will only align myself with good business, people that I like, that I think have the same values that I do. So that's why I align myself with PeopleLift. The other piece is that I love innovation and working on hard problems and figuring out how to watch a CEOs, set of partners light up when they figure out how to solve a problem. So that's the other piece of it. And I think with PeopleLift, there's such a huge opportunity to make such a massive impact on community and in Puerto Rico and in the communities that we're serving that have these different huge needs and problems that you can solve. So that's why I've decided to partner specifically with PeopleLift without, going on for another 30 minutes. But
My
then we'll
ego
add
needs more.
soundbite,
That's not enough.
soundbite,
No,
soundbite,
just please pump.
compliment, compliment,
My
compliment.
bars.
I just wanted to point out that she said Puerto Rico again. So you are going to be needing to bring her to the island. That's another underlining messaging that we need to bring her to the island.
Yeah, I expect the next podcast to not be in a room, but with natural lighting on the beach
Yeah.
in Puerto Rico. Yeah, Jay's in.
And Jay's in. Nice. Okay, so Kelly, I'm gonna pick on you for one last little bit because it's something that we talked about as part of our goal or my goal for the business, but I think we all collectively share this is we've got this incredible award with Inc. 5. It's just an amazing outcome, right? When you go from literal zero to Inc. 5000 in less than 3 years, it's a pretty remarkable kind of run. But we're just getting started. And that's the kind of the theme here. And I put out something and as part of our Q3 look ahead is that we want to be the best of the best in terms of the best company to work for, the best culture to work for. And you've worked for some dynamic, amazing companies in the past. So what would you kind of give us advice and for anybody that looks at this to say, how do we achieve that? Because we've figured out how to get this crinkety plane up in the air.
Yeah.
Now we need to make it,
So
Delta. First class. Sorry.
yeah,
Sponsor the
Delta,
podcast.
only Delta. Inc. 5000 is a representation of your employees working very hard to get the goals done that you have put out there in front. I've worked for Inc. 5000. I've also worked for Best Places to Work. And we were Inc. 5000 before Best Places to Work. And I remember having a conversation about Best Places to Work. And the most important thing that you can focus on in any company out there is your internal employees. It doesn't, everyone thinks it happens with your clients. Clients come and go depending, like if you do your job well, clients come and go, right? If you don't do your job well, clients come and go, right? So
It's
tendency
it's
to
a
come
uni-
and go
so
either way.
what I hear you saying is it's universal. Clients come and go.
Feel a little better about that.
what is important that I think a lot of people miss, a lot of people talk about attrition rate and retention and all of these things, but what that really means is the individual providing the service that you need, and are you providing the service back to the person that they need as an employee? The only way to get to that best places to work is not by filling out the survey or,
Yep.
bribing people, Tim, don't with, all kinds of stuff.
No, that's TV. TV loves to hand out the candy jar.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But
super guilty.
the number one thing is understanding the financial goals of your employees. And we did talk about this a little bit. It's so important to understand what the goals are of your employees, how you can help partner with them to make that happen. They take care of the rest. I mean, Richard Branson is famous for saying, you take care of your employees, they will take care of the rest. And that's how you become a best place to work, whether it means being remote, not being remote, because every person's an individual. Every person thrives off different things. And so you have to understand what each person needs, and then the collective becomes a best place to work. So I'm very passionate about that. We could do a whole nother podcast on how to be a good
I
employer.
think you even brought this up yesterday when we were talking about this yesterday, not on the podcast. And finding out because not everybody's motivated by money, right? In fact, you know, I think the statistic is like 87% of people who resign from a job or leave a job don't do so because of money. There are other reasons, right? There's something else not being filled. And I think that was something that you brought up yesterday was, ask, what fulfills you? What is it that you have as a goal and how can we help you as an organization achieve that goal?
Exactly. Every single human has a different life perspective. And just because something motivates you doesn't mean that it's going to motivate the other person, could completely demotivate them. So understanding how each person ticks and not the way you think they should tick is what's so important to growth. I mean, it has literally the key to everything. Seems so simple, yet no one, I say no one, a lot of companies don't seem to be able to follow that.
I think the important thing is that you need to take the time to get to know your employees, your team members, get to know them, their strength and not weakness, areas of opportunities to help them out reach their own goal. When you understand those two things, their strengths and their goals, and you help them out achieve them, they're going to be engaged no matter what the end result because they know that you're there for them, so they're gonna be there for you as well, and that's the key to be successful.
There's 1,000 different ways of saying that, but I think that's aligning values, addressing fears, and pointing them in the same direction to leverage the energy to have the outcomes that you want is the ideal part, right? But you've also got to get it done. And and we are in such a get it done yesterday business. I mean, it's always on fire. There's always a problem. The tolerance level is it has to be extreme. And we talked about this as a good bit, but kind of zooming out here because I want to talk about a little bit about where we're going and in relation to those conversations because best places to work is the number one goal for me. Like, and it's not just a like how can we buy our way and I want it to as organic as humanly possible, but we're not there without our employees. We've got some tremendous employees here. We've gotten here because of the brands that have been trusted us. So we go from anybody who will say yes in July of 2020, which is a great customer persona, by the way. Just as it gives
One
you
that's been around for over 3 years.
exactly.
Yes.
Gets you a very large TAM if you're
Yeah.
into that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right? Because everybody has this. And now we're working for some of the biggest brands in the world. Some of the most bleeding edge manufacturers out there, folks that are building the future of aerospace, they're building the future of defense, they're building future of products and automotive, and it goes in multiple states and multiple different regions. So as we look to go ahead, and our goals are pretty simple. Kelly, mandate 10x in 3 years. How do we do that? It's a very intentional plan, but it's driven through best places to work, great employees, great brands that support us. But also has to be, taking the time internally to build out what we consider to be our future plans. So I'll go a little bit into that just to kind of give a little bit of a preview. There's no secret sauce here. But when we look out the business, 10x in revenue, 2x in headcount at least, right? So we want to be able to help support that. But we also view the Caribbean, Southeast, and Midwest as our key markets to be able to really help support the manufacturing sector. Georgia has got a lot of opportunity here. There's a ton of businesses that are being brought up. A lot of organizations are investing in the Caribbean as well to be able to help propel them access to different marketplaces. So I'm going to ask you each a little bit about how you see us moving forward, fully knowing this is forecasting. So it's best fuzzy math and a little bit of a gray kind of look. But Tim, I want you to talk briefly about why we opened up offices in Puerto Rico and how that could be potentially helping us support that particular region. And then Kelly, I'll come over back to you and Kathy in just a moment. So Tim.
It's interesting with Puerto Rico. I still remember when you came to me because we had a failed, offshore launch, and you came back to me and said, "Hey, I really think Puerto Rico is our opportunity." I'm like, "You just did this, man. Like, why?" This is bad. Like, it was really bad for multiple reasons. We won't even get into those, but um then I went down to the island, right, to hold those interviews, and God bless you, Kati, for even like coming to meet me. And I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but it was in my hotel. Like, we didn't have offices, so well, we were supposed to have offices, but we didn't. And
That's a whole different story for another day.
yes, again, a whole nother different story. But it was when I met, I had a chance to take a look at the island, had a chance to, I mean, it was 2 full days back to back to back to back of interviews. And it occurred to me that there have been so many American organizations that have gone down to Puerto Rico, taking advantage of the tax haven that they had.
The
You know,
2020 companies.
right? They hire one or two employees to get over that, and then they don't ever invest in the island. And I went, man, we have a real opportunity to impact this island and become an employer of choice, and that means, providing best in class benefits. That's best in class compensation. That's best in class lifestyle. And those three things are not offered. And that was something that you and I talked about. And for me, it was not only the opportunity to expand and expand quickly, because there are just an entire ecosystem of recruiters with vast manufacturing experience. So, I mean, you have this great experience because so many American businesses open up manufacturing facilities. They hired Puerto Rican uh, recruiters to recruit on these roles. So you talk about multidiscipline manufacturing recruiting in an island where we can come in and, as we've been talking about, become a best places to work, while at the same time dramatically impacting the potential economy, for these folks, and saying, listen, we can pay you more than what market rate is because of the great work that you're able to bring in. For me, that was just the massive advantage. Plus, it brings in English as a second language. It brings in, like I say, the experience, the multidiscipline experience. So the ability to go out and head on in, across the manufacturing spectrum. Whereas here in the U.S. or stateside, because Puerto Rico is still U.S. Stateside, you get a lot of siloed recruiters. Like, I only do chemical manufacturing, or I only do aerospace manufacturing, or whatever. And I grew up in the world where I was only accounting and finance. I mean, for the longest time. But yeah, over there's this multidiscipline, and so
Times. It is all cross training. And I just want to point out something that you just said. You're not another PeopleLift, it's not another American company. Something that I value and the team members value as well is that they have the promise to themselves to contribute to the island, to contribute to what we do, and they allowed us to help them in the growth process here in the island. Oh, by the way, we're already there to provide the services for recruiting at all areas. So I'll be chatting with a lot of people
we
hoping to
need
talk.
you.
Queen, I want to talk to you.
Because to zoom out on this, because I think you hit on a lot of great points, but the goal was to establish a global footprint for our recruitment talent because we saw huge upside Central and South America organizations investing in the second industrial revolution that we're going through here in the US. The investment has been across build it, and that flexibility within the skill set available within the talent pools is significant. But the other parts, to at least on our side, is that the phase two and phase three of this business is, when are we opening up an office in, say, Mexico City? When are we opening an office in Buenos Aires? Because we're able to take our model, due to its flexibility and scalability, to different organizations on a global footprint. And then you take that out, and we want to be hiring and have offices in 3 continents in the next few years. It's an aggressive kind of idea, but how can we be, again, flexible vendor of choice for organizations that have these aspirations? And we see it every day. We see European companies investing in US. We see Mexican organizations opening in US. There's a ton of that happening, and we're positioning ourselves well as this trilingual agency that can support these manufacturing hires at scale, from frontline machine operators all the way up into really advanced engineering aerospace. And that's really been designed through our partnership here with you, and the story of finding you in Puerto Rico has been a wonderful for us.
No, and the good thing about it is that Puerto Rico has all the industries right now in the island. You have aerospace, you have medical device, pharmaceuticals, you have corrugated, you have food and distribution that goes from that are international, and that even though they have base in the island, they also have base in Costa Rica, they have base in Mexico, they have bases in Europe. So for us understanding our clients in the island, we can use it as our playing field for the next stage.
That's the reason why I need to learn Spanish.
And that's the reason why you need to learn Spanish.
So I'm gonna wrap this up on that note right there. That's a good one to know. But this is our first version, right? Again, build the engine while flying the plane. And we've been having a great conversation. It's been about as non-linear as possible, which is great because it's what it's supposed to be. But as we all as a team look forward to the next versions of these, like maybe it is outdoor at a beach on an island to quote you on this. But what I would like to, as a team and as a goal, it is as long as we remain committed to the values that it started this business, that became pillars of this business. I see no reason why we can't 10x in 3 years, like we talked about. Why we can't work in 3 continents in the next 3 years. Why we can't be a best places to work and an Inc. 5000 organization in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Like it's the worst and best part about being competitive is we've just level set up. This is now our baseline. And if this is our baseline, how do you get better? And that starts by just taking a step back and hiring, engaging the right kind of folks. And I'm proud to be at the table with you all. I'm proud to kind of sit here and jam out a little bit. Only one time. Look at that.
Only mention about the data-driven approach.
None of that. None of that.
Our data-driven approach.
It's our differentiator.
But yeah, so yeah. We have lots of it. As long as it's driving.
Everything is driven through data.
For Tim, Chu, Katyan, and Kelly, thank you all for paying attention, and we'll see you later. Bye. See ya.
You dream of hiring the best team members for your company. But you know attracting the right talent is difficult in this market, and retaining them is an even greater challenge. You aren't alone. 50% of new employees think about getting another job in their first week, and only 33% of employees reach their full potential. That's why at PeopleLift, we've created world-class solutions that solve each of these problems. For a free consultation, visit us today at PeopleLift.com. Your results are guaranteed.